सुनो एफएम नेटवर्क और रेडियो पाकिस्तान के मीडियम वेव नेटवर्क पर आप सुन रहे हैं प्रोग्राम द फोरम विद जावेद खान जदून।
Assalamu alaikum, Javed Khan Jadoon with English edition of Forum. A Forum is broadcast from Suno FM network and Radio Pakistan. Today we will be discussing how India lost its global relevance and clout and facing perilous consequences of its follies. Today's important development is that the US President Donald Trump is expected to meet Pakistan's Prime Minister at the White House. And the news was broken by the British news agency Reuters, which quoted a White House official in this regard. A meeting comes weeks after the two countries agreed to a trade deal, which India got the rough end of the Trump stick. US-Pakistan ties have warmed up in recent months under Trump and fast deteriorated with India. United States and Pakistan announced a trade deal on 31st of July with a 19% tariffs imposed by Washington, while India was imposed a massive 50% tariffs. Trump has already hosted Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir earlier this year, marking the first time a US president hosted the head of Pakistan's army. It didn't go well in India, caused a lot of dismay and disappointment. Pakistan has backed Trump's quest for Nobel Peace Prize, and amid the role he played amid the escalating tensions between Pakistan and India, and particularly quoted his role in the ceasefire agreement between the two countries. Furthermore, Shahbaz Sharif was part of the meeting President Trump had on Tuesday with leaders of many Muslim countries, where the US president discussed Israel's assault on Gaza and also discussed a peace plan, a 21-point peace plan, which later was announced by Steve Witkoff, the American envoy to the Middle East. Washington says that the US shared peace proposals with leaders from those countries in the meeting held on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly summit being held in New York. India singled out and punished by President Trump imposing 50% tariffs on its imports, while China not targeted both import Russian oil as we know it. Iran and Middle Eastern countries which had closer diplomatic and economic ties with New Delhi are distancing themselves. Iran found out the hard way in its conflict with Israel and America that India cannot be trusted. India's global clout and credibility suffered irreparably after four-day conflict with Pakistan. Islamabad being seen as a stabilizing factor in South Asia and Middle East, while India is being seen as unreliable partner and disruptor of peace, and particularly in South Asia, after the unprovoked attack on Pakistan in May this year. The only friend India has is another rogue state in the Middle East, that is the state of Israel, a state which is fast becoming a pariah state as more and more American allies are recognizing Palestinian statehood. President Trump and the Muslim leaders discussed the peace plan as pointed out, and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif was part of that important Muslim leaders group, while on the contrary, we haven't seen a single presence of the Indian Prime Minister or the Indian Foreign Minister at any important fora discussing the Middle East peace plan or the ending the war in Gaza. We are going to discuss these important developments and will be discussing the events which have taken place and how they are going to shape the Middle Eastern region and South Asia, Indo-Pacific region and beyond as well. We are joined by Air Marshal Saeed Khan, a regular to our shows. He is in our studio. Thank you so much, Air Marshal Saeed.
Thank you very much, Javed sir.
Air Marshal, very important developments have taken place, and the most important one is that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shahbaz Sharif, is expected to meet the US President at White House, while India has been singled out for so many punitive and punishing actions as far as President Trump is concerned. I talked about the tariffs, talked about President Trump's repeated assertions that he was the one who brokered ceasefire between Islamabad and New Delhi, while New Delhi kept on denying it, further antagonizing the US president. And now the space is really shrinking for India. Now India, which is being seen now as a country which lost its credibility, its clout, and its significance as far as the global arena is concerned. How important these developments are?
I totally agree with you, Javed sir. These are bad days for India. And in my view, India has not lost its relevance because of the military defeat it had on the hands of Pakistan. It has lost its relevance because people have started, or the countries have started, not to trust India as a friend. For two reasons. One, they have been backstabbing countries who were very close to them. One. Number two, the statements which India gave about Pahalgam, they have been, I'm sure, investigated by individual countries the world over, and they have found India to be telling a lie. So when a country is known to be telling lies at the international fora and killing its own people for political gains, that country tends to lose its importance in the world. And I think that is exactly what has happened with India in May 2025. On the other hand, Pakistan took a stand on the right thing. We told the world very clearly that we are not involved in Pahalgam and we are not involved in killing of the 26 innocent Hindus over there. The world has now realized that Pakistan was telling the truth, and it is victory of truth over lie that has put India into this position. At the United Nations, it's for the first time that we are seeing that the whole world is uniting against Israel. And at this very moment, at the United Nations, Israel has only two friends, America and India. And anybody who is getting, which is known as a friend of Israel is not seen as a good.
Two rogue states. Let me add another important development which has taken place. As I mentioned that Iran found out the hard way that India is a country which cannot be relied upon or trusted because when there was a war between Iran and Israel, India was the country which never condemned it. And now when Pakistan and Saudi Arabia concluded a defense pact, certain media outlets in the West, in Israel and in India started pointing out that this defense pact is primarily aimed at Iran and the Houthis in Yemen. And interestingly, the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, made a very important statement at the UNGA, and he welcomed this agreement, the defense pact between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, once again causing a lot of embarrassment and shame for Indian media and Indian analysts who were trying to project this particular defense pact as a pact against Iran.
Again, I will agree with you 100%, Javed sir. This is exactly the reason. Even in the Iran-Israel conflict, if you remember, the Parliament of Iran, echoed with slogans of Pakistan Zindabad, and Pakistan played a role of a friend. We used our influence at various fora and with important capitals in the world to mitigate the situation between Iran and Israel. And Iran appreciates that. And today, Alhamdulillah, because of our foreign policy and because of standing on the right side of history, today Pakistan enjoys that clout in the region as well as in the world, which is unprecedented.
Allow me to quote what exactly the Iranian president said. He said, "We welcome the defense agreement signed between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan." And furthermore, he said that that was at the UN General Assembly. He said that the agreement could mark the beginning of a comprehensive regional security system with the cooperation of the Muslim states of West Asia in the political, security, and defense domains. Extremely important statement. He is not only welcoming it, in fact, he is talking about further expanding this pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, I believe would cause a lot of dismay in India.
Yes, it will, because I was just going through a few newspaper headlines of Middle East today before coming to your show, and people are calling it that a Muslim NATO is coming into existence now. Javed Sahab, the world has realized that no resolutions either at the ICJ, ICC, Security Council or at the United Nations General Assembly can stop this manslaughter of Palestinians by the Israelis in any way. And there can only be a force, which is capable enough of stopping it, has to be positioned in Gaza. Americans do not want to put their forces over there where their own forces are facing the Israeli onslaught. The Europeans do not have soldiers to spare because they are defending themselves against a Russian onslaught on Europe via Ukraine. The Muslim countries of the GCC do not consider themselves strong enough to be standing there alone. So a Muslim force comprising of Pakistan, Indonesia, Turkey and Arab states of that region ought to be formed. There is no other option available at this very moment to stop that thing. If we have to stop this manslaughter which is taking place, we have to put this force over there. I think what will be discussed today between Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and President Trump would be that what would be the cover that would be provided to that force, because that force will not be positioned over there to fight Israel. It would be positioned over there to ensure peace. And if that is what the United Nations wants, then that force has to have the cover of the United Nations.
As I pointed out, what the U.S. Special Envoy on the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, said, he said that 21-point Middle Eastern peace plan has been presented, of course, to the relevant countries, and he expressed the hope that there will be a breakthrough on Gaza. And he also added that this plan was discussed, as you were talking about before the show. He said this plan was discussed during the President Trump's meeting with the Muslim countries' leadership, including Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. So I believe that was a very productive meeting, and President Trump understood the gravity of the situation and the kind of isolation America is facing right now at the UNGA. The only country, as you yourself pointed out, which is supporting Israel is the United States of America. Its very close allies like France, like UK, and
Canada,
Portugal,
Australia.
Australia, they have recognized these Palestinian statehood, despite the fact that America expressed, or American president in fact condemned. He used the words condemned. Well, that is a paradigm shift as far as the European states are concerned. So of course now I believe that the pressure is mounting on President Trump and Israel.
Yes, it is. Because of two reasons, Javed Sahab. One, the Europeans understand Middle East better than the Americans because they have been the imperialistic powers over there. Number two, the number of Muslims as percentage of the population in European countries is far more than it is there in America as a percentage of the population. So the governments in Europe and all over the world actually now are under immense pressure from their own people. While so that is why I think out of 193 countries yesterday, with the acceptance of Portugal and others, I think the number has crossed 150. So more than 80% of the world has already recognized.
And most importantly, now the European states
Yes,
are recognized.
they have recognized Israel.
The countries from the third world.
Palestine, and everyone thinks that two-state concept is the best to have peace in that region. But how to get that two-state formula implemented is the biggest question. And that can only happen if America allows the thing to go through the Security Council.
We'll have to study these 21 points to get the relevant answers. Now, let me tell you, Air Marshal, that the Indian Prime Minister was putting up a brave face, telling his own people that don't buy foreign products, go for the indigenous produced consumer items, etc., so on and so forth. On the contrary, I mean, why I said brave face? Because India is suffering immensely because of the US tariffs. The Indian stock market lost $10 billion in one day. That is the first shock. Second, the Indian currency lost its value, the lowest ever recorded in Indian history. I mean, these are the two important pointers, which tell us that India is suffering hugely because of the American tariffs, despite the fact that he is putting up a brave face in front of his own people, while Indian economy is definitely at the tailspin. $10 billion lost in one day is a huge amount, and Indian currency losing the maximum in a single day, the lowest ever. So how do you see India isolated at the UNGA? I haven't seen Prime Minister Modi gone into oblivion. Haven't seen Jaishankar, the Minister for External Affairs, gone into oblivion. India not being calibrated at any important UN gathering, be that regarding Gaza, the Middle Eastern situation, or President Trump's policies vis-a-vis the Indo-Pacific region and the Indian Ocean. So India, because of its own follies, because of its own unprovoked aggression against Pakistan, and the outcome of the 4-day conflict, tremendously lost the credibility, clout, and now suffering the diplomatic isolation.
Absolutely. India has, at the very moment, lost diplomatically as well as militarily. Diplomatically, New York...
Diplomatic loss is the byproduct
of the military
loss.
Yes. Because before that, Javed Sahab, India, through its friends like America and Europe, was actually trying to project itself as defense military force stabilizer in this region. And he was trying to position itself against China as a European, European proxy, which was able to counter China both economically as well as militarily. The 4-day conflict, like you have said, Javed Sahab, it exposed the reality of the Indian defense capability. But I would say that the bigger loss has come diplomatically. Since 1980s, India has been working on the Great India, mantra, which they have been spreading all over the world. But now the world has realized that India is not a great country. It is actually a great liar. It is a great liar. It has been projecting itself, wrongly in front of the world. And that is why you see that where Pakistan is everywhere at every international fora today, India is nowhere to be seen. And nothing could be more stark than what we are seeing in New York these days. I do not think so that even any news channel has covered up Prime Minister Modi or Jaishankar, in the last 3-4 days. I have not seen their picture on any channel. But we are seeing Pakistan and the Middle East. Secondly, there is a, let me say it, Javed Sahab, I was talking to a few friends in America, and they said that there is a general hatred today against Israel. The world has now forgotten the German Holocaust. People now remember the new generation, Generation Z, only sees and gets influenced by the massacre that is taking place in Gaza. So the Holocaust of today is happening in the Middle East and in Gaza. And Israel is responsible for it. And whoever is close to Israel or is helping it having that massacre or undertaking that massacre is not looked nicely. That is why America has been isolated, and that is why you see President Trump and Marco Rubio, so frenetically, trying to show the good side of America to the world at this very moment. I personally think that President Trump really and sincerely wants to have peace. But the problem is that Israel is not listening to them. And I have a feeling that sooner or later a time is going to come when America is also going to shed off Israel, and the world will then take over. And that is where when this Muslim NATO that we are talking of will become a force to be reckoned with.
And yet another important development, I would say, definitely important development. The ex-owner, Elon Musk, he filed a case in an Indian court that the government of India has taken it upon itself to remove any content, the content which is against the BJP, which is against Prime Minister Modi, which is against RSS, which is against Sangh Parivar, of course, and which is against Hindutva. These are the forces controlling all the media outlets in India and, of course, the social media. For obvious reasons, the court rejected Elon Musk's appeal and said that the Indian government does have the right to remove any kind of a content. What Elon Musk said, it amounts to censorship, because free speech means if there is a criticism on the BJP government or Prime Minister Modi, why it is removed selectively. I mean, India being exposed at every international fora and platform, be that the diplomatic one, be that the UNGA, or be that the social media platforms.
Actually, it is a singular world these days because of the social media, Javed sir. Anything happens in any part of the world, the whole world knows it within the next 5 minutes. What is happening in India is known to everybody now. The way RSS and the Hindutva philosophy is being implemented ruthlessly on the minorities in India is now known to all. And now whether the more I think Indians remove the content from the social media, the more pariah state they will continue to become. And that is exactly what is happening. Like we say in Urdu, ke Sayyad apne hi daam mein aa gaya hai. ठीक है ना? So India is now seeing the fruits of its own labor. It has behaved
there
wrongly.
There is no freedom of expression.
They have
no free media.
Whatever.
And no freedom to the minorities to express their views.
Actually,
this is the biggest democracy we are seeing.
I think if one has to give punishment to anybody these days, I think I would tell him to see the Indian media for 30 minutes. Because it's so illogical, it's so biased, it's so hateful that, it doesn't look like a media. It looks like a broadcasting station for RSS and Hindutva philosophy.
And I should say, yet another development which signifies the grave fault lines which India is suffering right now. This fault line is the economic inequalities, ethnic inequalities and discrimination. Ladakh is burning. At least 4 people were killed with police clashes by the demonstrators. And the reason was they are demanding a separate statehood and the job quotas. And as I pointed out, it's because of the poverty, because of the rampant inequalities, socio-economic and political. Look what is happening in the northeastern states. Manipur is burning, and other 7 sister states have been demanding, some demanding independence, some demanding autonomy, and some demanding the economic opportunities. Now it is the turn of Ladakh. Ladakh is burning because of the BJP policies, it's because of the Hindutva stranglehold of the society, and because of the RSS policies that only the people living in the Hindi belt, only the Hindus and the Hinduness can survive. Otherwise, be that a Muslim, a Christian, a Dalit, or anyone from the northeastern states or Ladakh, they are not the equal citizens. Now the consequences are there for BJP in India.
You're very right, Javed sir. Actually, the shape of India we see today has happened for the first time in the history of the world. India has never been this unified throughout. There have been princely states, nearly 57 of them, and they had peacefully coexisted with each other. The Mughal rule was simply so successful because they had that ability to give leverage to all religions and all sects to act upon their beliefs in a very nice way.
If you please allow me, Dr. Maria Sultan has joined us. Dr. Maria, thank you so much for your time for the English edition of the forum. Dr. Maria, we are discussing some extremely important developments taking place in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA summit. The top story is that President Trump, according to the British news agency Reuters, which quoted a White House official, that President Trump is going to host Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif. And we are juxtaposing the Indian isolation, India losing its clout, its relevance on the global stage in the wake of the 4-day conflict with Pakistan. We are saying, Air Marshal Saeed is here in the studio. We are talking about how India lost its clout, its credibility, and its relevance as far as the global politics is concerned. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif being invited, and while on the contrary, Indian leadership in total oblivion. Not a single Indian diplomat being quoted anywhere at the UNGA or on the sidelines of the UNGA. How you take these important developments, Dr. Mari Sultan?
I think there is no two opinions about the fact that India has lost significantly its international clout as well its relevance to global affairs. You see, what we are looking at in the wake of President Trump's initiative is the fact that he is very serious about the peace in Gaza, and he is trying to come up with countries which would be relevant to this peace and this international peace-broking mission which he has got in his mind. He's come up with 8 countries, 8 Islamic countries. That means Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Jordan, Egypt. And of course, these countries signify what? These countries basically signify one thing, and that is the fact that these countries are actually capable of managing or have an influence in their respective regional security, context.
Right.
So in this context, it is not India which was picked up, which could have easily gone on Israel's side. India, which has been claiming that it has got one of the biggest, largest Islamic populations and has also tried to, demand a seat in the OIC on this basis, or for that matter, the fact that they were regional, security stabilizers or whatever. Instead, what we have looked at is the fact that they were not considered as relevant to either regional security equation or even for that matter for handling any other international relevance. So this has been a very rude awakening for them, but I think this is an awakening which Mr. Modi had consistently worked on. Had he been more generous to his people, had he been more equitable, had he been actually democratic and not trying to hoodwink, yes, a lot of U.S. interests are linked to India, but that doesn't mean that whatever they are doing is also going unnoticed. And the way they have lost the war has pretty much cemented their relevance to the international community, that this is a country which talks loud but cannot perform loud. Henceforth, their relevance is also in the same context. We do not see them, at least with the current administration, anywhere in the bloc in terms of Russia situation, anywhere in the bloc with China situation, anywhere in the bloc with Pakistan. So we see that it is basically a regionally limiting role which has been given to them by their ally because they believe, the ally believes that they're being too smart. They are on one side being the ally to the United States, and on the other hand, they're collaborating with Russia. On one side, they say they're anti-China, and China is their biggest threat. And then they go about, trying to win deals and economic support from China. So this is the context, and in this context, of course, international relations and international collaborations don't support you then. They create problems for you.
Correct. Dr. Maria, when Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed the Defense Pact, you have gone through it that certain media outlets in India, in Israel, and even in the Western countries, particularly in the USA, started projecting this Defense Pact as a pact against Iran and the Houthis in Yemen. Now, very interesting statement coming from Masood Pezeshkian. You must have gone through it. He not only said that we welcome the defense agreement signed between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. He further said, and here I quote him, agreement could mark the beginning of a comprehensive regional security system with the cooperation of the Muslim states of West Asia in the political, security, and defense domains. An extremely important statement and dispelling absolutely any misgivings about the pact, rather than he's talking about further expanding it in West Asia. again, a great dismay and disappointment in India, Dr. Maria?
Like I said, they are miles away from the reality on ground. What is the reality on ground? The reality on ground is that Pakistan has played a key role as a stabilizing force. During the Iran-Israel war, we provided unflinching support to Iran. We stood with them. The consistent attacks which are being done against Iran even now in terms of electronic warfare, dimensions and so on and so forth, Pakistan is very categorically stated that we want to support and we will support. That's one. Secondly, Saudi Arabia and Iran are also no longer poised towards each other as enemies. So they're looking at it that their biggest regional threat at this moment is not Saudi Arabia versus Iran or Iran versus Saudi Arabia. The biggest threat which the Islamic world at this moment is facing is from two belligerents. On one hand, we are facing Israel. On the other hand, we are facing India. And none of these countries, both of these countries have actually worked together in close collaboration, in close defense against the Muslim countries, whether it was in Qatar, whether it was in Iran, whether it is in Saudi Arabia. So what we are looking at is no doubt with the start of the Pak-Saudi alliance, defense pact, the start of a most probably a Muslim kind of, Islamic alliance, which is going to look at the threats which this region faces collectively. Because the significance of the pact lies on four accounts. One, it is not just unilateral, like it's not just like unidirectional that it's between, Saudi Arabia will be threatened and Pakistan will be responding. It's also, if Pakistan is threatened, Saudi Arabia will be, responding back. So it's bilateral in nature, so it's like Article 5. Number two, it is based on joint defense production.
Correct.
So we'll be increasing our capacity and capabilities. Number three, it is based on joint trainings. Number four, joint interoperable force. And then last but not least, joint economic activities and people-to-people contact. So if you look at the dimensions of collaboration, the dimensions of the future thrust of the pact, it is very clear that it is something which is going to be done together for the collective defense. And if it is done for collective defense, the region needs peace and stability. So if Pakistan does that and we are able to do it, Saudi Arabia is able to do it, we will be talking about a new Pak-Saudi defense, base, which is actually going to lead towards this comprehensive solution. So Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and now with these 8 countries which Trump has identified as Muslim leaders, which can play a significant role in global security, we are talking about an alliance which could actually empower the OIC. And if it does, then the framework of collaboration, the framework of interoperability will be altogether different.
Of course, Dr. Maria, all these developments reinforcing India's isolation and Pakistan's relevance at the global stage. You were talking about the Middle Eastern peace plan. Steve Witkoff presented 21 points solution for the Middle Eastern peace and the ending the war in Gaza. And of course, he pointed out that these points were discussed during President Trump's meeting with the Muslim countries' leadership. And of course, Pakistan's prime minister was part of it. And of course, India was not seen anywhere. So once again, Pakistan's relevance and India's irrelevance is signified. Whatever important development is taking place in New York and Washington, Dr. Maria. And one more aspect I would like to present it and would like your comments on it. India's currency lost in a single day, and that loss was the biggest ever against the US dollar. Indian stock markets lost $10 billion in single day, while on the contrary, Indian Prime Minister very naively was putting up a brave face, telling his people not to buy foreign products, go for the indigenous products. India is losing tremendously, not only diplomatically, militarily, but economically as well. Now, this is really costing India hugely. And of course, the latest development, Dr. Maria, Ladakh is burning. The people are talking about statehood. They are talking about the job quotas. They're talking about the economic inequalities and poverty. How do you see these one development after another, and it's kind of a huge setback for New Delhi and Modi?
You see, India's development was like a balloon, a bubble. a bubble which was based not on reality but based on perceptions. They created the fog of shining India, the brilliance of shining India. But at the end of the day, brilliance of any country is not confronted by the problem which a country faces, but it is the acumen of the leadership. And if the acumen of the leadership is not for the people, it's impossible that you are actually going to deliver results. It doesn't matter whether you make the right decisions or you make the wrong decisions. What's important is this, that your acumen has to be people-centric. And in the case of India, what have we seen? None of the decisions which have been made by the Modi government have actually been people-centric. This is the first democratically elected government which is based on popularism and which has actually disenfranchised millions of Indian nationals because they were not of the Hindu origin. So this means that you are a first democratic state which is legally disempowered people from their right to life. And if you do that in Kashmir, whether you do that against the Muslims in Hyderabad, whether you're doing that against the Sikhs, what are you exactly doing? What you're exactly doing is the fact that you are actually eliminating the very basis of modern statehood. Second thing is this, that modern statehood is no longer a function of unilateral decisions made with total internalization. We are living in an era of globalization where even one security complex is affected by the decisions in another security complex. Who had actually thought that a decision in Qatar would actually, galvanize a Pakistan-Saudi alliance?
Absolutely.
But it did. Because, technically, whatever history, military books which we have been reading and authoring, West Asian security concerns were important but never significant enough to impact on national decisions. So the fact means that in future, and also currently, India had this misperception that if it is going to take unilateral actions, it can do it. While it is in alliance with countries such as Israel, whether it is in alliance with countries such as the United States, and on the other hand, it's going to continue to play its, non-aligned, leader of the South concept. The fact is, they made a deal with the Americans in 1999. The fact is that they decided to become part of the military alliance with Israel and them in 1999. So you can't turn around in 2025, once you have signed so many deals, so many things, you turn around and you say that now I'm again going to become a Congress-inspired democratic government, which is going to go for non-aligned stance. If you do that, and that I'm again going to reinvent and renegotiate and rebalance between Russia and China, it can't happen. You took those decisions in 25 years. Your economy is linked, your military is linked, your future is linked. And if you're going to disengage yourself, it's going to bring your, economy down crashing. And secondly, if you win wars, you can stabilize your stock exchange. But if you try to win wars on the basis of false flag operations and total lies, what will happen? Your economy will collapse.
Absolutely.
Because internally you have not managed to regain that balance. And that is exactly what has happened with India.
Absolutely.
They lied about Operation Sindoor, they lied about everything else, and the result is what? India's economy is facing a huge deficit about the weapons they have actually lost, which is running over $1 trillion. They're not telling the people the loss in their aviation. They're not telling the people the loss which they have had as a result of their misplaced understanding of their geopolitical ramifications.
Absolutely.
With regards to, what they expect from Russia and what they expect from the United States. And then they expect that everybody should consider and give them the same preference which was given to them earlier. No.
Okay.
It's not going to work out that way, not under President Trump and definitely not under any other government which is going to put their people first.
Thank you so much.
That's the reality.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Maria Sultan, for your time. Air Marshal Said, as was Dr. Maria was talking about Pakistan's growing relevance and India's growing irrelevance as far as the global political arena is concerned, diplomatic arena is concerned. Now, what options Prime Minister Modi has? Should shun its desire to be a hegemon in South Asia, must reject the Hindutva political philosophy if it has to become a relevant global power, or they can live with whatever is happening. Prime Minister Modi's remaining time period he is going to spend in total isolation, diplomatically and otherwise.
I think, Javed Saab, we are already seeing the slow demise of Prime Minister Modi. He is becoming, not a very good asset for RSS and BJP at this very time. I think everyone is very anxiously looking at the Bihar elections. If Congress wins the Bihar election, then Prime Minister Modi's goose is cooked, and sooner or later he will be, either replaced or he will be removed from office. India, if we look at, where would India now be moving? Somehow the other, let's give the devil its due. Somehow the other, they have been able to, the Indian media has been able to paint Prime Minister Modi as an Indian savior. They have been able to convince a large number of their own electorate, Hindu electorate, that he is the one who is standing for India's gains against dominating West, and especially America, and only Modi has the courage and the energy to stand against such a big country. But I think so these things are actually now going to negatively affect India, because India was trying to, the economic debacle which it was going to face because of the tariffs by America. It was thinking that they will be offsetted by, SCO and BRICS. But unfortunately, those countries are also not coming to the help of India, and they are not buying their theory. And they are not looking at India as a future partner in this region. Pakistan, on the other hand, is now being seen as a security stabilizer in the region. And I think that is a role we must willingly take and then pursue it with total honesty. Because any country in the world, and more so the countries in Central Asia and South Asia, want to have a peaceful region, economic growth, and good relations with each other.
True.
And that is where I think the Chinese philosophy of economic trade between each other is going to come handy. Now, we may like it or not like it, China is the new emerging superpower of the world.
Correct.
Right? They are not willing to go into a military conflict with America, as has always been that an imperialistic power has to be defeated by the new one to be there as a superpower. But China is coming with a new philosophy, and that new philosophy is being accepted readily by most of the countries of the world, and more so in South Asia and Central Asia. So I think that with every passing day, relevance of Pakistan is going to increase. If we are able to, do a good job in the Middle East, then I think Middle East, Central Asia and South Asia would be the areas where Pakistan will be a dominating force and a military stabilizer. And I think this is a role which India was wanting for such a long time, and India is going to be the net loser.
Of course, huge opportunities for Pakistan in the wake of the 4-day conflict. And Pakistan, to the best of its abilities, is really getting the opportunities the way Pakistan should get, because now we see how Pakistan is being seen as one of the most relevant countries at the global stage. With this, I think we'll have to leave it here because I'm running short of time. This is Javed Khan Jadoon saying Allah Hafiz.